We're very proud to be here. I'm actually talking to you from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm right now been spending the summer here. Not probably not the best idea in terms of the heat, but I was also doing a lot of amazing work with our partners and community. I'm located right now in the ancestral lands of the Akimel and before that the Hohokam people. I want to honor this space. I want to also seek the guidance of our ancestors in this journey, which it's about protecting our Madre Tierra. It's about making sure that we foster, that we implement this relationship of reciprocity. If we take care of nature, nature is going to take care of us. And especially during times of pandemic, we realize the importance of nature and protecting our Madre Tierra. We were staying at home. We were going through a very tough time as a humanity, and nature was there for us, whether it's a plantita, little plant in your house, a national park, a national forest. Nature was there for us, and it is our honor to be able to care for it. So this is what this presentation is all about. Again, I'm the Executive Director of Corazon Latino. We are a national organization. We started in DC. We are now blessed to be in many, many states, Arizona, Puerto Rico, our nation's capital, Utah. And what we try to bring is reconnect Latino communities of color with nature. Anto, do you want to introduce yourself, please? And
yeah, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I am honored to be here. Second of all, full disclosure, I am a mom of two. I am at home and the kids are just beside me in the pool, as you can hear. So please forgive me about the noise, but this was the only way I could do the presentation and also take care of the kids. So trying to making it work. I work for Climate Power. I am Associate Director for Latinx Media, and I am super honored to be here and contribute in any way I can.
Thank you, Antonieta. And Serenelle, is the screen looking good to you?
Yes,
all
that's
good?
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Just want to make sure. For everybody who's either watching us in Zoom or in Facebook Live, please feel free to interrupt us, to ask questions. We do our best. We're not experts in the policy side, but we're human beings and we're experts in engaging our community. So we're trying to see, help connect the dots and see why we're living in a historical moment. I think it is. I don't need to repeat, but we need to underscore that right now our Madre Tierra, our Mother Earth, is screaming at us, and we'll talk a little bit about the experiences, the personal experiences that Antonieta had with the extreme weather. But I mean, right now, look around. I mean, floods in Germany, extreme heat in Arizona, hurricanes. I mean, scientists are baffled about how fast extreme weather is affecting us and how fast these doomsday predictions are happening. And here in Arizona, I mean, it was just, so impressive to be here in those days where the temperature hit 115, 116, 118 degrees, just simply something that I have never thought of experiencing, and this is becoming the new norm. And at the same time, we have floods, we have, you name it. So it is a call to action. We are now in a moment where scientists said that we have still a few years left. I do want to see it in a positive way, that we haven't passed that point of no return, but we need to act now. But the good news is that we have the technology, we have the financial resources, and we have, at least we're building the political will to make those changes happen. And right now, there's in Washington, D.C., around the world, there's this movement there's leadership that wants to get it right. And let's be honest, and let's be transparent. This isn't, I mean, obviously the biggest motivator should be protecting our own species, our own lives, the livelihoods, the future generation, the present generations. Antonieta has 2 kids. I have my little one, Alex, who's 9. It's not about the future, it's about the present that they're living. But there's also an opportunity for creating jobs, for generating prosperity, for really advancing our country, our planet, in a way that it's friendly, that it's protecting, that creates that reciprocity with our Mother Earth. So, what a better moment, what better chance that we have to, again, create good paying jobs for our communities, to create in the U.S. to remake the infrastructure, the crumbling infrastructure, the roads, the house, the water, all of those elements, and at the same time doing it while being in our harmony with our Madre Tierra. So the chance is there. So I don't want you to think that this is the doomsday, that we have no way out. We have a way out. We can still do it, but it's going to take everybody's collective action, and it needs to happen now. So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit, what's happening, a little bit of understanding what's happening in Congress, what's happening with the administration. And of course, we do this as part of Latino Conservation Week, which is a phenomenal way to really honor our culture, honor our Mother Earth, and the way we interact, and that we are wired, that we know how to care for a common home, as Pope Francis would say. So I'm really proud to be today with you, and I'm really proud to be side by side. And again, when Serenella invited me to be part of this, she knew that I was going to do something like break some rule, and I wanted to have Antonieta in this, because Antonieta, along with other partners like EDF, Esther Sosa, who's taking a very deserved vacation, we've been working really hard the past few months to really raise the voice of our Latino community, to really bring these important conversations to media, because again, it needs to be it's as important as healthcare, as immigration, as economic recovery is, and everything is interconnected. So I'm gonna get started. Antonieta, do you want to add anything of what I just said?
And I would add that there is a misconception about what Latinos really want in terms of public opinion, and they always rely on immigration as the must-go topic. But whenever we talk about climate change, Latinos do care. And I just wanted to just highlight the fact that, for example, in Climate Power, we recently did a poll where 80% of Latinos said that climate change was a problem, and they were worried about precisely their kids and the impact that climate change will have for their families. So it's an important topic for our community, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. Let's get started. So we're talking about the American Jobs Plan. And by the way, you may hear it as different ways: infrastructure, the Build Back Better. I mean, there's many ways, but I think the notion of really leveraging this moment, this political moment, and this opportunity to invest in infrastructure and in climate resilience, it's the important part. So a few months ago, the Biden administration released, and I remember when President Biden presented this at the White House, and he started by saying, this day is a day of jobs, jobs, and jobs. And I think it's a very important framing, because protecting our Mother Earth, protecting ourselves, tackling the challenges of climate change is about jobs. It's about economic development. And we cannot decouple them. We need to make sure that this is an integral part of the conversation. And again, I mentioned it earlier, we have the resources, we have the money available, and we're building the political will to do this. And the original vision was to invest over $2 trillion. It's a lot of money in the next 8 years to really build that infrastructure, build those roads, change that matrix of less dependency on fossil fuels, or eliminating our dependency on fossil oils, and embracing clean energy. And that's the idea. And again, it is part, and within this process, what does that mean for our communities? For Latino communities, means jobs, means economic prosperity, means that these actions will benefit in our pockets, because this is, we'll see less, our cost on energy consumption. We'll see if we have cleaner air, the healthcare costs will go down. So everything is interconnected, and this intersectionality means a lot. And that's why we need to step up and make sure that we are supporting those politicians and those elected officials that really want to do the right thing. The American Jobs Plan also comes after. It was amazing to see, at least from a conservation and environmental point of view, and again, not getting political, but just seeing a week after the Biden-Harris administration took office, to see 2 executive orders that signaled, that directed the executive branch, the administration, to advance equity, racial equity, support underserved communities through investment from the federal government, and tackling climate change. And this has been the direction, and I will encourage you to read them, to take a look at all the language, because it's really directing the budget of the federal government to invest 40% of new investment, of expenditures in the communities that have been in the front line of climate change, that have been suffering the most, that are if it's Puerto Rico that suffer from the heat of Hurricane Maria, if it's the droughts and fires in California or in Arizona, or floods in Texas, those are the communities that need to be in the investment, that the money needs to come first. And it's not only about investing money or like just spending. No, it's about making those communities part of the decision-making process. We need to be in the table. When this funding comes, when this investment comes, we need to make sure that our communities are part of the solution, are part of the decision-making process. So this is a great opportunity. This is a historical moment. And we have, but it's a two-way street. We have to make sure that our elected officials do the right thing. And right now it's being debated in Congress, but we as communities, we need to make sure that we are there participating, raising our voice, making sure that we know what our priorities are, where do we want to see this investment to go to. Again, this is an interactive. If there's any questions, Serenella, if you have any comments, same Antonieta, we're gonna start taking a deep dive, and we'll try to get as much as we can. We have only an hour. This is a topic that we could be talking literally for hours. But we're good. Nothing, Serenella, from?
Yes, right now we are good to keep going.
Great, let's keep going. So one of the main focus of this investment and that we are pushing, and by the way, this is a presentation and framework that we have co-developed with the Environmental Defense Fund, Climate Power, and many other partners, of how do we make this great vision, this great opportunity, how to make it actionable. And a couple of the actionable items, the first elements that we could make this investment and make sure that they are benefiting our communities are going to be outlined here. So transportation, we know that fossil fuels, that the gasoline are one of the biggest polluters, one of the biggest causes of climate change. So making sure that fleets, that the government fleets, that electric vehicles are, and reducing our dependency on fossil fuels, it's key. So so by bringing not only the individual, which is important, but again, government run, city run, school services, buses, that's an important piece of where we can start tackling and where this investment can be seen. So just think from a perspective of economic development. Well, all of the needs for a new fleet of transportation, where we need to make those changes. We need to install electric electric, how do you call them, the stations to recharge the vehicles. We need to service those vehicles, although they may need less servicing, but you still need mechanics. You still need people to take um, care of those. So that's an opportunity, again, where we are both generating opportunities. Well, first of all, reducing climate emissions, or emissions, uh, taking those steps to reduce pollution, and at the same time generating jobs. There's a lot of, I mean, this is not a perfect solution, and we're not talking that we have perfect solutions. We're close to there, but we know there's a lot of debate about the lithium batteries, and there's a lot of issues that we still need to figure out. But the technology, the science is advancing to making sure that I mean, 10 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation about solar panels, about clean energy. It was simply it was not comparable. It was very expensive. It took a lot of resources, but the technology has advanced in great leaps, and now we're in a position that this is part. And again, there's no one solution that will solve the problem. It needs a number of tactics, a lot of strategies that we need to do. Some of the goals that we're hoping to achieve is that we have 100% clean energy by 2035, new trucks and buses with zero emission by 2040, new cars to be zero emitting by 2035, and at least 500,000 vehicle charging stations by 2030. Again, these numbers are, I mean, they're scary, and they're very, very, not scary. I mean, they're very ambitious, but we can make it. Again, there's economic incentives. Like, I mean, look at the electric cars. They're cool. I want to buy one of them. And if we're investing in that, we will have a great opportunity again to have, and again, not only from a consumer's perspective, but again, from the companies that are manufacturing, from the engineers that are developing, from the workers that are giving maintenance. I mean, this is such a great opportunity to make sure that we are really embracing and that we're really looking forward. And again, if we're making money, if we're making a much more livable space, and the most important, we're protecting our Madre Tierra, this is a winning proposition. Going to, and again, just underscoring what I just said, it's about creating jobs. It's about making sure that we're diminishing those impacts of environmental justice. It's a public health. The American Lung Association presents every year the State of the Air report, and every year we see that the cities like Phoenix, LA, cities in Florida, where there's a majority of Latino populations, are the most affected. And guess what? The asthma rates go up. And guess what? The healthcare costs go up. So we need to make sure that this benefits the consequences of doing this. The positive consequences of these actions will have a direct correlation with the well-being of our community. And again, I want to underscore, it's about also creating economic opportunities. Serenella, Antonieta, any comments, any thoughts there?
I would like to just add that the American Jobs Plan, the way it was presented in March, of course, is a job creator plan. And it presents a really great opportunities for Latinos. If you think about the people that you are going to need to achieve all these goals that you just presented, the labor force, the Latino labor force, will have a great opportunity to participate, considering that, for example, 30% of Latinos already work in construction, and there are a lot of works that will relate to the American Jobs Plan that will be needed in this new green economy that the American Jobs Plan can create. So it's a great opportunities for Latinos in general.
Again, this picture on this slide talks about what does it really mean to be on the front line of climate change and pollution. This is a picture that we see all over the country, where we have pollution, we got contaminated, polluted sites, we have the worst quality of air. It happens in our neighborhood. A lot of systemic racism, a lot of the gentrification, and all those elements that move our communities to live in these spaces. But and there's a concept that I really love from American Forest called tree equity, and it's really the accessibility or the amount of tree canopy of green spaces in communities. And unfortunately, we see that in affluent communities in LA or in Arizona, where rich people live, that's where you have the best tree canopy, where you have less pollution, where you have more green spaces. And guess what? The healthcare indicators are high. I mean, people have longer living expectancies. There's less diseases, respiratory diseases. And you go a few miles or a couple of zip codes to our communities, and it's on the contrary. The green spaces, the pollution, the healthcare costs, asthma rates, they are disproportionate. This is what it means. So investing in making sure that pictures like this are the constant. It is what the American Jobs and Infrastructure Plan. So this is an opportunity, really. I don't think it's ethical. I don't think it's the right thing to do to continue to exacerbate this injustice, this racism, this systemic racism for the profit of a few. And again, without getting into politics, and you know exactly where politicians and the political parties stand on this, but this is not the right thing. It's a moral issue. This is about what's right and what is wrong, and it is up to us to decide which way do we want to decide. We want to create opportunities, protect our families, our communities, protect our Madre Tierra, or we want to destroy it. The choice is very simple. Just underscoring the fact that the opportunity of electric buses, electric cars will generate a huge opportunity for our communities. Again, it is a once in a lifetime opportunity that we really need to take advantage of.
We have a question.
Yes, go for it.
So from Diane Cameroon, in regards to transportation, jobs, and protecting Mother Earth, can we keep building and expanding highways consistent with this vision, or do we need to do a 180-degree turn away from highways and fossil fuel transportation and in favor of transit jobs? To offer a bit of background, Maryland Governor Hogan's highway expansion proposal for I-270 and I-495 now has the express written support of a 5-member majority of the county council, including council members Rimier and Navarro, both of whom have recently highlighted their support of climate action.
I think it's a wonderful question, because this is the example of what does it mean to local communities. I mean, we talk about trillions of dollars when we create about economic prosperity and job, but this at the end of the day means, what does it mean for my community? What does it mean to the roads that we're building? Yes, there's ways to do it and to do it right. If we go to the old school, the business as usual, we're gonna fail, and we're just gonna put money in the pockets of a few. But that's why we need our community. We as people that live in this country, that we are constituents of those elected officials, we need to demand that they do the right thing. If I don't know the details, I apologize. But as far as I can tell from the question, it's not a good program. And if that's the case, well, let's make sure that they know that they're accountable to us. They're accountable to the people who elected them. And if they want to keep their job in 2, 3, or 4 years or whenever, they need to deliver. And if they don't do it, we need to elect those who will. So I think this is where the power of our community, the power, whether we are eligible to vote or not, that doesn't matter. We have the right, we have the the responsibility to talk and raise our voice. This is the time. So if that particular project, again, I don't know the details, is not going to be, or it's going to create more problems, let's speak up. And I'm sure there's got to be, or there has been public information or public conversation. Let's do it. Let's give them a call and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Council person, or whatever the position, sorry, I missed that, but we're not okay with this. We're not okay, my communities. And if you want to come, let me talk to you. And they have to, because that's their job. So what this opportunity is really, if we believe that it's not the right solution, let's speak up. Let's make sure that we get our voices heard. And again, it is part of being of the democratic process, and we need to make sure that we are we cannot afford to let others make the decisions for us. We need to speak up, and we need to be loud. We need to be repetitive, and we need to be there for the moment. Sorry, I get a little bit carried away, but I love this question.
No, I really love your energy. And I think it's one of the problems that our community faces is that, to quote a very dear friend of ours, Abel Olivo, many times we go along to get along and really don't speak up, either because of lack of time or fear. So could you speak a little bit about that, how communities that live in fear of police incursing in their houses and in their communities be more vocal? What do you want to tell to our people, um, to incite them to speak up? And do they have rights, and do they have a a responsibility to their own community to get involved?
Absolutely. And I think you frame it in the right way. Primero que nada, no tengan miedo. Fear will not make us act, will stop us from acting. Don't be afraid. You have power. This is a beautiful democracy. This is a beautiful country that we decided to live in, that allow us to have rights, that allows us to have responsibilities. We need to use them. So it doesn't matter of your immigration status. It doesn't matter if you have money, if you don't have money. It doesn't matter the language you speak. You have the right to be part of the decision-making process, of all the decision-making process. And part of the work, for example, that we do, Serenela, for agencies like the Forest Service, come from a direction from Congress, the Civil Rights Act. And the Civil Rights Act gives the access, the protection, and the empowerment to everybody in this country to be part of these decision-making processes. So what I would tell is, yes, it's hard. I know. I'm an immigrant too. We all have our own stories, and we know how hard it is, the journey, that what we left behind and the challenges that we face. So, but at the same time, change, positive change for our communities happens by speaking up. Look at the examples of Aaron Cesar Chavez, of Dolores Huerta, of Martin Luther King Jr., of those leaders who had been bold, who have taken the initiative and have speak up. I don't want you to be a martyr or like be opera, but you have, even if it's just sending a tweet, even if it's just making a phone call, even if it's just having conversations with your neighbors, that helps make those changes. And again, lo único que yo les puedo decir es no tengan miedo. Ustedes tienen el poder, tienen la oportunidad, tienen el derecho de hablar con nuestros oficiales electos, y nuestros oficiales electos tienen la obligación de escucharnos. Y si no lo hacen, la próxima elección los despedimos. Así de sencillo. Así es como funciona la democracia en este país, y por eso es por lo que estamos aquí, porque es esa oportunidad. Sorry about that.
I would like to add that an important part of speaking up is knowledge, is to make the connection.
Yes.
So in the case, for example, of highways, do people know that living near a highway expose you a lot to pollution, to PM 2.5 particles? Do they know how much of an impact that has in your personal health or in the health of your kids? I have to say, I have to confess that before entering the environmental world, I didn't know this. So when I bought my house, for example, I didn't know this was a thing. This was something that I need to care about. So I think it's really important that whenever we talk about speaking up, asking our community to speak up, it's an essential part is knowledge, is making specifically that connection and giving them the tools to know how all these problems impact their families, their lives. If you speak up in a knowledgeable way, I'm sure people will listen.
And I love what Antonieta is saying, but yes, sometimes we don't know. We don't need to be experts. That's important. We don't need to be experts in climate science or in economics or and all of these terms that Antonieta has mentioned, but we are experts on what's happening to our communities. We know that asthma is affecting our communities. We know that we have family members, friends, neighbors that are going through that have been suffering from respiratory problems. We know that we have families, we know people, we have in our root in the countries around the world that have suffered the climate change, or like Antonieta's story, which I mean we probably should at some point move forward for that, because Antonieta's story is very moving, and that's exactly what drives. So we are experts in our own on how climate change, how pollution is affecting us. And we need to go and say that. We need to say, like, I don't want it because I don't want a highway polluting my neighborhood. I want my sons or my kids to be able to have a safe planet. I want green spaces. I don't want that. And that's what our elected officials need to hear. There's two ways that politicians, elected officials will listen to you. One is if you have money and you give them donations, or two, it's in the moment that you exercise your vote, or you encourage your members of the community, family members, if you're not eligible to vote. And guess what? When we are in the ballot box, when on election day, no matter if you have $5 billion or living paycheck to paycheck, you have your vote has the same value. So those are the moments that we need to leverage, and that's where our power comes. So we do this. Yes, we want to make sure that we are being stewards of the land by taking those small actions, by taking those like probably recycling, making sure that we're composting, making sure that we are taking those environmentally friendly. But we also do by being good citizens, by being part of this community. And again, you don't need to. Doesn't matter your status. Doesn't matter what language you speak. You have the right to be part of the decision making process.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
I want to go a little bit fast because I know we have limited. I don't want to get into. I'm happy to share this slideshow. It has a lot of like technicalities and the wonkiness and what do we want to make sure that what are the specific asks. But again, if there's one message that I want everybody to take away is that we have the power. And right now there's a process that started after the administration presented its plan. It's called a bipartisan infrastructure deal, where senators, members of Congress from both parties came together and say, okay, let's work together. Let's make this happen. We may not get everything, but let's find a common ground, which is at the end of the day, the pillar of our democracy is we can have different points of view, we can have different views of the world, but we can work together. And that's unfortunately something that we've lost in Washington, D.C., but we hope that slowly we'll get back. And this bipartisan infrastructure bill, which you probably heard after the American Jobs Plan, it's really just how to get to the nitty gritty. What does that mean? What do it mean in terms of public transportation, water infrastructure, electric vehicle charging stations, all of those elements. And it is an art. Politics, it's an art. So there's At least we want to think that there's well-intentioned senators that are trying to reach this deal. Unfortunately, the leadership in both parties are not getting along. They're not getting those deals, and it's going to be hard. I mean, the process has started. I just before we enter, we saw that on a procedural vote, a process called the reconciliation, which is really making those changes and those negotiations as they determine what is the funding for the federal government, or like how much money does the Park Service, the Forest Service, or any other get. And it's every day it's an influx. So what I can tell you right now, it's pay attention to what's happening, listen, inform yourself, have conversation. And you don't need to understand everything, but you need to know that the right thing is, let's make a deal. Let's make sure. And our elected officials, those who are representing us, at the end of the day, all politics are local. So if you live like right now, I'm in Arizona, Senator Sinema, Senator Kelly, whoever is your elected, just call them and say, hey, this is a good deal. We want to support it. We got your back. Or if they're not supporting, hey, you're not looking after our communities. We want this to happen. We want this deal to happen, because at the end of the day, it's not about being blue or red or purple. It's about our own survival as a species. It's about the well-being of our communities. So it is a moment that we can be bold, that we can do those changes, that we can set the foundations for a present and a future, but we cannot do it from the comfort of our seats, or letting others make decisions for us. We really need to invest our time, because the not doing it, we're going to lose a lot, and it is and I'm not willing to not do it. At least I want 10 years, 15 years from now, I want to look into my son's eye and say, hey, in 2021, I did everything I could to make this happen. Whatever happens, know that daddy did everything that was in his power. And I want you to make that. And again, it is about what's right and what's wrong. What is the moral thing to do? Is it moral to destroy the well-being? Is it moral to kill people with heat waves? Is it moral to let pollution poison, or let polluters poison our families? Or is it the right thing to fight I don't want to even use the word fight. If it's the right thing to do to care for our mother, it's the right thing to care for our common house. So the decision it's in all of us, and I think we know what we need to do. And again, politics aside, it's what's right and what's not. Anton, you want to go?
So I would like to talk a little bit about extreme weather and our new normal, because if you think about it, like 20 years ago, and you think about the headlines in the news, climate was not really present there. But every day now we are seeing just these news articles and these newspaper covers telling us what's going on with climate everywhere. We are seeing wildfires, historic wildfires. We are seeing heat waves. We are seeing a hurricane season that hit all records. We are seeing flooding. We are seeing rising sea levels. So all extreme weather events that are strictly related to climate change, we are seeing them every day because of climate change, now are starting to appear everywhere, in every state. And that is something that didn't happen before. So it's a new normal. And I think everybody's trying to get used to the fact that now we live in an era where extreme weather events are something on a daily basis. I am talking to you from Texas. And for example, here, recent February, we have extreme weather event that brought extreme cold to the state, that it's something that we don't expect in general. And we had a real issue. 3.4 million people were without power because our local infrastructure is not ready for extreme weather in general, either extreme heat or extreme cold. We are not ready for that. So that created a lot of problems for a lot of people. Can we go to the next one, please? So I try to get a general summary here of what extreme weather looks like today, and just basic numbers so we have a general idea of what's going on. So for example, if we talk about extreme heat, of course, we are super surprised about, you know, the temperatures 130 degrees, 140 degrees that we are seeing in Arizona, California. But also, I mean, let's remember that this is something that is repeating and repeating. And the summer of 2020 was the hottest summer on record. I bet that now, today, this year, we will say, yes, 2021 is the hottest summer on record. And we will keep growing that number, and we will continue to see that as a repeated factor in our lives. I would like to add that specifically when we talk about extreme heat, Latinos are one of the communities that are most impacted by extreme heat. Why? Because we work outside. We work in construction, we work in the farms. So we are exposed to extreme heat in our daily jobs, and that put our lives in danger. Also, when we talk about extreme heat, as I mentioned before, we are having a lot of power outages related to extreme heat. And that also impacts a lot Latino families. Think about it. I mean, if you have a power outage related to extreme heat, you can probably lose everything in your fridge. And then you have to replace that food. And that is a cost. That is an extra cost that not all families have. And if you are having repeated events, that creates a problem for the whole family budget. So, and in terms of energy cost, that is another problem. Because for example, if you are dealing with this extreme heat, maybe you don't have air conditioning. That is one problem, and then you're completely exposed and vulnerable to extreme heat. But then there is the issue that you may have air conditioning, but you cannot afford to have the air conditioning on all day long. So energy cost is becoming a huge problem for Latino families when we talk about extreme heat.
And let me just add for that on that one, Antonieta. When Serenella, I remember a couple of years ago, Naturally Latinos focused on Puerto Rico, and after Hurricane Maria, or after the incident that you mentioned in Texas, Antonieta, the loss of life didn't come from the event itself. It didn't come from the hurricane, or it didn't come from the cold weather. It was the loss of energy, and those individuals who need for dialysis, for any medical condition, who didn't have access, and unfortunately that's what's really, so it's not only costing our pockets, it costs lives. That lack of access to resilient, affordable energy costs lives, period. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but please, Felipe, intervene whenever you decide it's a good time. I would also like to, then when we talk about extreme heat, we have to talk about drought, because it's another problem that extreme weather is bringing. And of course, there are several states in the West that now are dealing with extreme drought. For example, California in particular, they have like a 100% kind of drought in the whole state, and 3% of the state has extreme drought. And this is also is creating a lot of problems, of course, for many communities, but of course, it's also creating problems in terms of power outages because, and energy conservation, because a lot of the energy moves from water in terms of the plants that need to cool off and are cooling energy and are using water to do that, and in terms of the plants that actually function with water. So that is also creating an energy crisis in our country. The next one, please.
Trying to figure out, sorry. There you go.
Thank you, Felipe. Wildfires. I have to say that before I worked on this presentation 2 days ago. And today, when I look it up, before this, I have to change the number again. Before it was 80 wildfires, big, active, large wildfires in the West. Now it's 83. Last week, it was 70. It was in the range of 70. So it's growing every day. And this is creating a crisis. Why? Because, of course, we are losing a lot a lot with every wildfire in each state. And of course, it's also creating an air quality crisis. I am sure that everybody saw in the news today, the air quality that we are seeing in states in the East, because precisely of the wildfires that we are seeing in other parts of the United States. Unfortunately, again, Latinos are the most impacted when we talk about wildfires. Why? First, because we live in areas more exposed to wildfires. Real estate is cheaper in those areas. So we are more exposed to this extreme weather event. And of course, our capability to recover from an extreme weather event like a wildfire is not equal in terms of different ethnic groups. So because we are a community that we are hard workers and you know, it's something that, I mean, we work every day and try to make ends meet most of the time. If your house burned, maybe you didn't have insurance, or maybe you had insurance and then your insurance doesn't cover all the cost of this extreme weather event. So we face a lot of challenges in terms of how we are exposed to extreme weather events like wildfires or floods. Please, the next one. So I cannot talk about extreme weather without talking about hurricanes, hurricane season and flooding, because it's something that mostly last year we saw a lot. Last year we have more than 30 named storms, and it was an historic season in terms of extreme weather events like hurricanes. And what we saw is like, we saw rapid intensification extreme weather events. So we had a tropical storm and just quickly it transformed into a category 1, category 2, category 3, really in a matter of hours. That didn't happen before, and it's happening now. And it's because of climate change. And the problem is that, again, Latino communities, we don't have the same capabilities to recover from an extreme weather event. And I am talking here from Texas. And here, Hurricane Harvey occurred on 2017. And still, if you go to Latino neighborhoods here near Houston, you can see that most of the houses are still not rebuilt. So that tells you something. That tells you something about how to expect when we talk about Latinos and extreme weather. The next one, please. So I would just like to say that for Latinos, this issue is personal, and for me, it's super personal. And this picture that you see over here is my house. And this happened to me on 2017 after Hurricane Harvey. And I have to confess, before this experience, I knew about climate change and I care about climate change. Of course, I am a mom and I care about the future of my children. But I didn't have a lot of information and I didn't make really the connection with extreme weather and climate change. And that's why I was saying too that it's super important to make the connection. And after I leave this extreme weather event, after my family was rescued in a boat in this extreme weather event, is that I realized that I didn't want to live through this again, and I didn't want other moms to live through this again. And that it was important for me to raise my voice and share my experience and make everybody realize that what happened to me, this picture can be your living room any day now, because we are living in the times of climate change and this could happen to anybody. The next one, please. So in general, I would like to also emphasize the fact that we need resilient infrastructure. As we were talking about the example in Texas, I mean, these are just a few examples of how our infrastructure is failing when we talk about extreme weather events, because we are really not prepared. I mean, if you think about, for example, the electric grid, when you have more heat, This create a lot of problems with the grid, and this, for example, create more wildfires because the grid fails. It's also a matter of the well-being of our community. We are having power outages because the grid is not designed to deal with extreme weather. It's not resilient enough. And also there is a matter of our individual homes. Our homes have not, we don't have good insulation. We are not prepared also, ourselves, our houses are not prepared to deal with extreme weather. So we need help with that if we want to, while we mitigate climate change, while we work together for a future of zero emissions, we need this time that it will take us to reach that level, to reach the green economy. We need to prepare ourselves and we need to prepare our homes. So it's super important when we think about extreme weather and climate change and the American Jobs Plan and infrastructure, make all the pieces connect each other. It's not just one thing and then the other. Everything connects to each other. So it's important to consider whenever we talk about infrastructure, it's super, super related to climate action. And I just wanted to make that point overall, because if our goal is to mitigate climate change, if our goal is to change this for the future of our children, we need to think how this is impacting us right now to just make everybody, we are in the same boat here, but I really don't want you to be in the boat that I was 4 years ago.
Thank you, Antonieta. And I just want to end by saying, Antonieta, I met her when she was a very accomplished journalist for El Mercurio de Chile, La Opinión, Univision, and she made a career and a life choice move at 180. And now unfortunately, I never, what happened in her life is so unique and so impactful, but at the same time she brought to our community, to our movement, one of the a great advocate. And I'm very, very grateful that you're here with us, Antonieta, because your expertise, your knowledge, your passion is making a difference. And I've been doing this for 15 years, and today, and I want to make sure that we leave with a positive note, today we're seeing real change. We're seeing media talk about it. We're seeing people act. And again, it wouldn't be a presentation if I did not encourage everybody to take care of ourselves, enjoy nature, hug a tree. It sounds cliche, but it's it is a good thing. Nature gives us a lot and it is there for us. So make sure that we are honoring our land, that we're making sure that we are seeking the guidance of our ancestral knowledge, of our ancestors in this journey, because we can do it. And now is the time where we have that opportunity again to do what's morally right. So encourage you to go out, spend 20 minutes in nature, hug a tree, let it go, and let's come back. And I'm not gonna say fight because I don't like the word fight. Let's rally together, let's group, let's get this right. We have the opportunity and we will get it done. I'm gonna stop there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felipe. And thank you, Antonieta, for such a powerful share of your experience. And I want to drive that point home of the experience that Antonieta had, the things that we are observing and living in our communities, and how the American Jobs Act can change that situation. Just to summarize and really drive home the point of tonight.
At the end of the day, it's a blueprint. It is an opportunity for us to get involved. It's an opportunity to act. Again, yes, if we start looking into the nitty gritty, maybe not every solution is perfect, but we need to at least try. If we don't try, we're not gonna ever succeed. So this is the moment where we need to have those conversations. We really need to push those elected officials. And I mean, I didn't know about this particular case that was mentioned, but if there's Latino civic public servants that are not doing the right thing, is it time for hold them accountable? There's no there's the future of our families, of our communities at it's what it's at stake. And you know what? I'm willing to do anything because we can do it. Again, I want to be positive. I want to see, but we need to be bold. We need to hold them accountable and make sure that they're representing us and not the the pockets of a few. So that's what I would say. This is again, yeah, go ahead,
I
Antonieta.
would like to add that in 2020, millions of people vote for climate action because we had a candidate at that time, Joe Biden, that talked about climate action and talk about the climate crisis and talk about science and why we need to believe in it. So now it's the time to deliver, I would say. Now is the time to talk directly to those voters and say, we do care and we will do something because you elect us for that purpose.
And we're not giving them a free ride either. We need to make sure that they deliver in what, because that's what they were hired to do.
Absolutely right. I also like to point out that within our Latin community, there are people on both sides of the aisle, and climate change doesn't care. It doesn't matter if you like red or blue. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. The earth is what we share all together. So it's important for all of us, wherever in the spectrum you lay, to make sure that we are taking care of our house. And to me, one point that it's really important that we take from tonight is that it's not just about those people over there. It's not just about my neighbor, but I'm okay. Because at the end of the day, even the richest houses in California are burning. So it doesn't matter how much money you have or not, you will be impacted. Your health will be impacted. So we need to act now to preserve our own health. The earth is just the habitat that we share. So we need to make sure to protect our habitat, our house, the place where we live. So thank
Amen,
you so
Serenella.
much.
Así es. Gracias.
Now, this being the tail end of our presentation, I want to invite our viewers on Zoom to share their videos, share their voices, to interact with our amazing speakers tonight. And I see Diane's video on. Diane, do you have a question or a comment?
I do. Thank you, Serenella. And thank you, Felipe and Antonieta, for today's forum. And I have a question relating to a possible field for creating new jobs and highlighting and increasing upward mobility in existing jobs, which is in HVAC, heating, ventilation, and cooling, which I'm very interested in from a green infrastructure and local community health perspective. There's so many connections that I believe might be there for to increase training and career opportunities in this field. If you could, either of you or both, to speak to that.
I will concur with you. I mean, they're just retrofitting, making sure that buildings, let's just talk about federal buildings, government buildings, to make them energy efficient, energy friendly. I mean, there's such an opportunity. And I mean, talking from a Latino perspective, the most innovation, ingenuity, hard work will come from communities of color. So that's an opportunity. We just need to provide the training, as you said. You need to provide the resources. And again, not only we're doing something to create jobs, one of the slides said that jobs in this industry will have are 25% paid more, and it's just about training, and that will allow us to generate benefit, more money in the pockets of families, prosperity, while we're protecting our Madre Tierra, our casa en común. So, I mean, it is a win-win proposition. So we just need to really focus and make sure that we're part of that decision-making process. But I totally agree with you, Diane. I don't know if Antonieta, you have any thoughts?
Same page as you, Felipe.
And there might be a connection also with the training we're talking about with President Biden's. I've heard him talk about his commitment to free community college. And our community colleges already provide a lot of important technical training and technical certifications. And I believe they really could increase their presence and their role in green infrastructure using tree plantings and green walls, green roofs, even as part of the building energy efficiency and water efficiency and cleaning the indoor air, like filtering indoor air.
Urban forestry, urban agriculture, all of those opportunities. And I just want to finish. I've spent a lot of time in the past year in West Virginia, and I'm now also a constituent of Senator Manchin's. And as you know, the biggest challenge there is the just transition with miners, with those who depending on coal plants. And there's that opportunity. We have, I mean, and in a couple of conversations, I've been very blessed, very lucky to be part with Senator Manchin and his staff. Like, it's just that opportunity. Give them the training, give them the resources, and West Virginia, the coal workers will help provide the energy efficiency, all the things that are needed. And I will extrapolate this to our communities. Give us that chance, give us those opportunities, and our community will deliver. So I totally agree with you. This is a unique opportunity. Again, it's urgent, but at the same time, we have this historic moment to do it.
And I would like to add that it's happening. I mean, we need to transition from fossil fuels. This is a reality. It's as believing in science, we need to believe in this too, because it's true. Fossil fuel has polluted our planet, our United States, our country, in a way that has impacted all of us, especially frontline communities. And it's time to stop. We need a change. Otherwise, how are we going to survive extreme weather? How are we going to survive climate change? We will create an impossible planet to live in. So this needs to happen, and it's better for all of us if it happens sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I also want to add to that amazing statement that wouldn't it be great not to have to worry about is it economy versus taking care of the planet? I mean, if we vote for those who want to protect the planet, to have a smaller carbon footprint, we can have both, because when we design new infrastructure, guess what? There will be engineers that need to be hired. There will have to be construction workers that need to be hired. There will have to be architects to be hired. There would be jobs at every level that will be needed, and it could be a flourishing economy. So it's on us to decide whether we're living in an either or economy, or are we living in a yes and, because we're taking care of us and are taking care of all of our needs at the same time. It's not cherry picking. No. We made this infrastructure and we can make a better one.
We can do both.
In all of us.
It's not an option. we can do both. And now, as I said, technology, money, and political will. We have that. So it is time for us to take those bold actions. Yes, completely agree, Serenella.
I wanna voice the comment from Lee Sonthamer. I'm sorry, Lee, if I'm
No, that's
your
fine.
can you please make your statement yourself? Would you like
Oh,
to?
sure. I was just, when Felipe raised the issue of being in a constituent in West Virginia and trying to raise the subject of bringing coal miners into clean energy jobs. I was just about to raise that point, that that fairness and retraining fossil fuel industry workers so that they also participate actively in the clean energy transition is key. You know, there's lots and lots of people around this country, but especially, you know, in the South, in Texas, in the Midwest, in Wyoming, in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, lots and lots of people who they're still insisting that fossil fuels must continue to have a role. And we've got to bring them around. And that includes, you know, certain senators. And the House is on fire, and they're still sitting around adding fuel to it by insisting that fossil fuels have a role to play. And we know that fossil fuels have got to go. So, you know, it's both a question of encouraging them, you know, look how much they have to benefit from this clean energy transition also, in terms of that they will still have good jobs, they'll even have better jobs, but also, you know, to help them see that, you know, this is now, this is urgent, this is not for our children, this is now. And I think that President Biden's plan, the American Jobs Plan, does a good job of providing for a just transition. I just hope it plays out that way in implementation.
Well, we just have to hold his feet to the fire. That's all.
And
yep.
and
the Senate. Yeah.
Those who are trying to obstruct it, I think we need to do both. I mean, we can chiflar y comer pinole. We can do both. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to hold accountable. And again, if it's from our own communities and it's elected officials, this is not the time to be nice. This is the time for action.
Yeah.
We need to do it. So yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to our speakers. It has been such an energizing night. I don't know about you, but I just want to go out and exercise my rights and hold people to the fire.
And hug a tree.
I also want to thank our partners from the U.S. Forest Service, the Urban and Community Forestry, Civil Rights and Wilderness, Wild and Scenic Rivers. That's a mouthful. Thank you so much for sponsoring these talks. These will be available not only live, but also afterwards, free to the public so that everybody can enjoy them and feel as energized as Antonieta and Felipe have made us tonight. So thank you very much. I hope you join us tomorrow on Thursday to fight the good fight. I know you don't like that word, but we need to do battle. We need to prepare ourselves and get the work done. And Denise is gonna show us how tomorrow. I hope you can join us.
And I'm really proud of Denise, because Denise is the youth. It's female. The present is female. The present is Latina, African American. this is who are leading us. We're on the way out. I want to pass it because they are the ones that will take us to the finish line. Not that I'm quitting, but I'm gonna make sure that they are there. And I really proud of her, because I've seen Denise grow from a junior staffer trying to figure out to a leader, and I'm really proud of her. So hopefully she's watching, and tomorrow, please, Serenella, tell her she's an example and a role model of what's needed now.
Thank you so much for those very kind words. I'll make sure that she hears them. And to all of you in our audience, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, and have a great night.
Gracias, buenas noches.
Bye-bye. Gracias, Antonieta. Gracias, Felipe. Bye.
Gracias. Bye-bye.